Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here we are, another year, another 8K TV from Samsung. And if you've been keeping up with this space, you already know where this is going. Because let's be honest, native 8K content is almost non-existent. A few demo clips on YouTube, sure, but for most of us, there's not a lot out there that truly demands an 8K display. Samsung's been one of the only major brands consistently releasing 8K TVs, and 2025 is no different. The QN900F sits just below the flagship QN990F in the lineup. It comes in 65 and 75-inch versions as of right now, with an 85-inch on the way. This year, Samsung brought its second generation anti-glare tech over from last year's S95D OLED and tweaked it for their mini LED panels. Combine that with the brushed metal bezel and the whole thing kind of gives off picture frame vibes, especially if you plan on using the TV's art mode. It's also thicker than last year's QN900D, about 38mm with the rear panel included. And unlike the QN990F, this one doesn't use a wireless One Connect box. All your ports are located directly on the back. You get 4 HDMI ports, one with eARC, 2 USB-A ports, an LAN, an RF, and an RS-232C. It's everything you'd expect, minus the clean cable management that One Connect users might be used to. This TV is driven by Samsung's NQ8 AI Gen 2 processor, which powers most of the new AI features. Things like 8K AI Upscaling Pro, Real Depth Enhancer Pro, and AI Motion Enhancer. HDR support includes HDR10, HDR10 Plus, and HLG. Still no Dolby Vision, but at least Dolby Atmos is supported. And if you're pairing this TV with one of Samsung's 2025 soundbars, you'll get Eclipse audio support via the YouTube app. That's Samsung and Google's new spatial audio format and is exclusive to Samsung TVs and soundbars for now. Audio-wise, you're looking at a 4.2.2 channel system pushing 70 watts. It's a bit of a downgrade from last year's 6.2.4 setup, but it still gets the job done. I'll talk more about the sound later. Gamers are covered too. Samsung's Motion Accelerator 165Hz is built in with this TV with full 4K high refresh support, FreeSync Premium Pro, ALLM, and cloud gaming through the built-in Samsung Gaming Hub. You've got access to Xbox Cloud, GeForce Now, and Amazon Luna all ready to go right out of the box. The remote is basically unchanged from last year. Solar powered with USB-C backup charging with shortcuts for YouTube, Netflix, Prime Video, and Samsung TV Plus. It's slim and simple and gets the job done. Tizen OS got a big overhaul last year, and this version feels more like a refinement more than a redesign. Menus are faster, there's more customization, and navigation feels a little less buried. You can now resize menus and adjust transparency, which is nice for accessibility. All the major apps are here: Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and everything runs smoothly with support for 4K HDR and Atmos. You also get AirPlay and Miracast built in, so streaming from your phone or laptop is super easy. Let's talk about performance, starting with the obvious. This is an 8K TV, but again, you're mostly going to be watching 4K or even 1080p content. So the real story is going to be the upscaling. And this year's Samsung upscaling engine is as good as ever. I watched a mix of content, companion on 4K Blu-ray, which by the way I would recommend, to the heavily grainy Godfather 4K, and even a standard Blu-ray of Hit and Run. All of it looked sharp and well defined. The panel pulled a lot of fine detail out of those sources without ever looking over-processed. I also streamed some native 8K clips from YouTube, and I found myself sitting through the entire clip, something I don't typically do. Now let's talk about brightness. I measured 1,588 nits peak in HDR movie mode on a 10% window and just over 1,000 nits in SDR on a 10% window. That's solid, plenty bright for HDR and great for daytime viewing. I usually prefer filmmaker mode, but on this set, movie mode actually looked a bit better. It had a little more punch and the extra brightness helped give it more depth. Color performance is great too. 93.2% of the P3 color space and 72.1% of BT 2020. That's about the same as last year's model, and in real world viewing, colors look rich but never overdone. Now onto the black levels. This is a mini LED, not an OLED, so you're going to see some blooming here and there. In my torture test with that Vegas Strip demo clip on YouTube, there was a hint of haloing around the bright neon lights, but only at wider angles, maybe around like the 30-degree off-axis mark. That brings me to the matte screen finish. I know this has been a point of debate. Some people worried it might lift blacks or reduce contrast. I tested it directly, shining a softbox right on the screen, and honestly, it handled really well. The blacks didn't wash out like they did with last year's model. And shadow detail was preserved better than expected, especially if you're watching in standard mode. If you're a gamer, this TV has some tricks. AI Auto Game Mode is back, and it's a fun one. It can recognize what game you're playing and switch modes automatically. When I loaded up Madden, it went into sports mode. Then I jumped into Call of Duty and it flipped into first person mode without me touching a thing. Input lag is super low. I measured 11.4 milliseconds at 4K 60 Hz. And with 4K 120 Hz or 165 Hz on tap, this is a legit display for console and PC gaming. When it comes to audio, the 4.2.2 setup works surprisingly well. Object Tracking Sound Pro still makes it feel like audio is coming right from the parts of the screen, and the speakers have enough depth to avoid sounding thin. Is it going to replace a soundbar? Probably not. But paired with one of Samsung's 2025 soundbars using Q Symphony, this thing gets a lot closer to a proper setup than you think. So what's the takeaway here? Yes, native 8K content is still MIA, and that probably won't change anytime soon. But if you're shopping for one of the sharpest TVs on the market today, and you want a taste of what 8K is capable of, the Samsung QN900F delivers. The price is a sticking point. $3,299 for the 65-inch or $4,299 for the 75-inch. It's not cheap, but for what it offers, I'd say it's fair. It's not a value play, it's a performance play. For that reason, the Samsung QN900F earns an AVS Forum Top Choice for 2025. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you found this review helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.